Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where two friends get together and talk about the story behind the matches. I'm Matt.
And I'm Michael.
Welcome to episode 37, Starrcade 1989.
Future Shock.
I'm electrified.
Dude, the intro to this show.
It's pretty good.
With all the computer bullshit, and it's Sting, but it's it looks like DOS video game shit, but a little bit better than that. It looks like some shit from Tron, which is one of my favorite movies as a kid for sure. The intro was really, really great. Future Shock is fun. Supposedly, this is the first annual Future Shock, according to JR, but we'll get to that later. Continue, Matthew.
Starrcade 1989 is the 7th annual Starrcade produced under the NWA banner and the second for WCW. The event took place on December 13th, 1989 at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia.
We've been here plenty of times before.
I don't think so. I think this is the first time we've been to the Omni. No, wait. The first two Starrcades were at
the Omni is this is Starrcade country.
I was thinking...
Okay.
When you said
I was
that,
Matt, what are you talking about?
I knew we had gone to Atlanta before.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it was a different building. But no.
No. The Omni is important to the NWA.
It very much is. The attendance for the show was just over 10,000 people.
Which is kind of surprising because there are some shots where there are not butts in seats.
I think they would say that they were disappointed in their attendance for this show, even with 10,000 people.
I mean, I don't know.
This is Starrcade's kind of WCW-NWA's WrestleMania.
Yeah, when I saw 10,000, I was like, that's pretty good because we've had some
stinkers,
some middle
35,
4,500 some smaller, I mean, definitely not comparable to WWF, but some small numbers and attendance wise, and this one said 10,000. I was like, all right, that sounds pretty great. And then I turned on the show, and there's some shots on the other side of the canvas from the hard cam, and it's oh, where are all these people at? That being said, it is our last Starrcade of the 80s.
It's our last wrestling show
of the 80s. I'm kind of bizarre.
It's not our last pay-per-view, but it's our last wrestling show.
I'm kind of sad about it.
I'm looking forward to the 90s.
I am as well, but Flair's 89.
Flair's 89 is great.
It's fuck, man.
Does he go out with a bang? We'll find out.
I mean, I won't voice my opinion here. This is the place, but not the time.
So the other things that were happening around December 13th, 1989, T-Swift was born the same day. Feelings on T-Swift?
I like a little bit of all of it. I didn't like Reputation. The newest album, I can't think of the name of.
Don't look at me for help because I am not a Taylor Swift person.
It had too many songs, but I think there's some really good stuff. It is what it is. She is how do I put this? Oh, what is her name? That does not impress me much. Whose boots have your bed been under?
Shania Twain.
Shania Twain swam so Taylor Swift could fly. I mean, I don't know exactly what the turn of phrase here should be, but she was the first big country crossover in our lifetimes, and she was the one that really did it up pop style, and Taylor Swift is kind of the second coming of that, but she is twice over in that way.
I feel like Taylor Swift always did pop music, but
so
sold her first few albums to country stations.
I think you could say the same thing with Shania Twain. She's
and
Canadian.
So it just kind of stayed on the country side.
But I think the best Taylor Swift songs are on Red, but it also has some of the worst songs on it because it's too long of a record. Doesn't matter. There is good stuff in there. Overall, she is...
I don't think I could even name a Taylor Swift song
really?
Off the top of my head.
Oh man, we should.
I mean, if one came on, I might be able to oh, okay, that's Taylor Swift.
I've got some stuff that I think you could appreciate, But this is not a Taylor Swift cast, and if it was, I would not be doing it.
That's true.
So what else happened, Matt?
The weekend before saw the release of the movies She-Devil and The War of the Roses.
I don't know She-Devil.
She-Devil was Meryl Streep and Roseanne Barr.
That sounds amazing. Is that a good movie?
It probably doesn't hold up.
Is it kind of like Hear No Evil, See No Evil?
No, Roseanne Barr basically
is the devil.
Or is it Meryl Streep that plays the devil?
Meryl Streep doesn't play the devil. They're gonna make the fat white lady play the devil.
No, I think it's Meryl Streep comes in and like.
I mean, obviously,
I think it is.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But she comes in and like basically steals she just comes in and seduces Roseanne Barr's husband. If I remember correctly.
You mean she comes in and seduces?
Not Tom Arnold.
No, I was gonna go her TV husband.
Not John Goodman.
Not John Goodman. Yeah. One of my favorite pictures that's ever been on the internet of all time is John Goodman in that Black Flag T-shirt.
Okay, so it's a surprisingly resourceful housewife vows revenge on her husband when he begins an affair with a wealthy romance novelist. It's Ed Begley Jr.
Okay. War of the Roses, though. Is that Kathleen Turner?
Yes.
What's the movie? There's a movie I haven't seen.
Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner.
What's her other movie? I've seen parts of War of the Roses, but Romancing the Stone is the one that I've seen the most.
Peggy Sue Got Married, Romancing the Stone.
Romancing the Stone is the one that I'm most familiar with.
Serial Mom.
I love Serial Mom. Have you seen Serial Mom?
Serial Mom's good.
That's funny. I'm kind of not surprised, but Serial Mom is by no means the best John Waters movie. It is a John Waters movie that people have seen that don't know. Kathleen
Turner was directed by Danny DeVito.
Oh, Don't Throw Mom Off a Train?
No, War of the Roses.
Oh, War of the Roses is directed by Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
He's directed like 4 movies or 5 movies, and supposedly they're all great. I don't know if I've seen any of them.
And it was a Golden Globe nominee for comedy or musical.
Hell yeah. Did you see, I had 2 different opinions about this. A movie I didn't really care about. The Detective Pikachu.
Okay.
Why would Ryan Reynolds voice Pikachu when Danny DeVito could have?
Because more people would recognize Ryan Reynolds' voice, and that's what they sold it on.
But that's not fun. My vote goes to Danny DeVito as Pikachu, Gilbert Gottfried. Nobody would. I mean,
no one would have gone to that movie then.
But Danny DeVito, I think, could have been really funny.
Could have been
and cute.
But no one. They can't sell the movie on.
The thing is, if Ryan Reynolds is the voice of a character, then it's just Ryan Reynolds. And I guess you could say the same for Danny. I feel like the movie could have been more entertaining.
Well, let's move on to our show.
We probably should. We've got 12 whole matches to go through.
12 whole matches.
And do you even understand how to pull off this
very
point
carefully.
Thing?
Very carefully.
You've got it?
So a video package starts showing highlights of the participants in the matches tonight before showing the logo, which was what you were talking about earlier.
For Future Shock.
The national anthem is played with the flags in the ring. We haven't had a national anthem in a while.
It was just through the speakers, but they had some guys with a color guard but no horns, so it was just over the PA.
Jim Ross welcomes us to the show.
Big J.
And tells us that there are going to be 12 big matches.
Yes.
4 singles and 4 tag teams will face off against each other in this show. Terry Funk and Jim Cornette join JR to preview the matches.
And I think that this is the genius of the show.
It possibly is the best part, is Jim Cornette and Terry Funk.
It's I'm glad they tried something, but I think that this is the thing that this show can be most...
remembered for.
most remembered for, the nostalgia that anybody would have for the show, I would imagine, would be coming from this tag team
tournament.
Well, not the tournament, but the tag team. Why can't I think of what I'm trying to say? Announce table. This tag team announce table.
The expertise provided by Jim Cornette.
Yes, and Terry Funk and JR really fucking kills it. He really does a great job.
So there is a scoring system for this round-robin tournament. It's 20 points for a pinfall or submission, 15 points for a countout, 10 points for a disqualification, and 5 points for a time limit draw. and then obviously you get no points for a loss. We will remind you of these points because they matter, because the finishes to this show make them matter.
They are, as Rick Steiner would say, rough, rough, rough.
That may be the worst joke you've ever made.
On purpose. And it was for my boy.
So Gary Capetta announces all the tag teams in the Iron Team tournament, and like
surprisingly,
the stage has like a curtain in front of it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
That is like pulled up.
Yeah.
To reveal all the tag teams standing on the stage, and
there's like crazy, gigantic lights.
We have Doom.
Everything looks like a cocaine party.
The Road Warriors, the New Wild Samoans. And the Steiner brothers.
Yeah, instead of Fatu and Samu, it's Fatu and Samoan Savage.
So the Samoan SWAT team was Fatu and Samu.
Yeah.
But this is the New Wild Samoans, which is Fatu and the Samoan Savage.
And what's crazy is they have like the same body type.
Like
except
literally,
for one,
if you can't see their
faces,
face, it's hard to tell them.
The only difference is like, and the face is a big part of it. Samoan Savage has a mustache, and Fatu, who we know as Rikishi, who is starting, he still looks pretty fit here, but his ass is gaining girth, and he has got quite the fat ass on this show.
So we're headed off to our first match. Mm-hmm. We got Doom of Ron Simmons and Butch Reed.
Who they just say, well, I guess one's Doom.
Technically, they are still just Doom 1, Doom 2 at this point. With Woman and Nitron.
Who is Nitron?
Nitron, we talked about him because he showed up at the very end of our last NWA show to save Woman from harm, basically. But it's his real name's Tyler Main. Most people, he'll show up as a different name, as Big Sky later on in the WCW. But most people know him as Tyler Main. He was Sabretooth in the original X-Men movie and as Jason in the Rob Zombie Halloween films.
Okay, but what... Jason, you mean Michael Myers?
Or Michael Myers, okay. I'm sorry.
Like the X-Men, like the Bryan Singer X-Men movies?
Yes, the very first one.
Okay.
Cornette, we're told that Cornette's the color guy for the tag team bouts, which we kind of already talked about a little bit. And Ross says something about the skyscrapers not being here. And Cornette tells us that Sid Vicious was injured. And we talked about this on the last show as well. Sid Vicious actually punctured a lung
gross.
In the match against the Steiners. And I don't know if it was kayfabe here or not, but saying that Vicious was just not medically cleared the day of the show. And so that's why the New Wild Samoans. Who knows how much kayfabe that was or not.
Yeah.
The match starts. Scott and Simmons traded blows until a power slam by Steiner. Scott head slams Simmons into the turnbuckle, tosses him to the opposite corner, and charges in, but Doom 1 gets his knee up. Simmons Irish whips Scott, ducks his head, allowing Steiner to leapfrog, turn, and hit a Steiner line.
Ugh, so many Steiner lines.
Doom 1 with a jawbreaker on Rick, then tosses Steiner to the ropes, who ducks a clothesline, turns to hit a German suplex on Simmons. Reed comes in and gets a body slam for his troubles. Rick is tossed to the ropes, ducks a clothesline, leapfrogs a ducking Reed, and then turns and hits a power slam. At this point, Cornette brings up Japanese tournaments that take place over weeks and not just one night.
Yeah, he's like putting over this tournament, being like, oh, this is a thing all over the world, but we're doing it all in one night.
And I was all like, shout out to G1!
Hell yes.
Atomic drop by Scott, followed by a small package for a near fall. Reed with a hip toss to escape the headlock of Rick, but Scott is right there for a backbreaker on him. Scott reverses an Irish whip, grabs hold of Simmons in a bear hug before dropping him with an inverted atomic drop. Goes for a clothesline, but Doom 1 ducks, sending Steiner over the top rope to the floor. And on the floor, Nitron and Reed team up to start working over Scott. Back in the ring, Simmons with a power slam starts choking Scott, and Doom has the advantage. Simmons kicks Scott out of the ring so that Nitron and Reed can continue with the attack on the outside. And Doom 1 with a vertical suplex on Scott for a 2 count. But as Simmons is picking Steiner up, Scott cradles him for a small package for a near fall of his own.
Bam.
Doom with a double back body drop on Scott and more chokes from Simmons. And we get a call for 5 minutes remaining.
No.
and I didn't mention this, but all the matches had 15-minute time limits.
Yeah. And they let you know
they
throughout
do.
the match.
They tell you every 5 minutes. And I'll mention them when they
don't 84 NWAU.
Exactly. We get an Alabama slam from Doom 1, but only a 2 count. 4 minutes remaining. Simmons with a headlock on Scott, but using the ropes as leverage. Scott's hit with a double team back elbows from Doom. Simmons just steps on him as he is leaving the ring, and then Reed just throws Scott over the top rope to the floor. Reed looks to bring Scott in from the apron with a vertical suplex, but Steiner holds on to the ropes,
Fuck yeah,
allowing himself to fall on top of Reed. But the ref isn't in position as he's trying to get Rick back into his corner.
Man, solid little spot.
Reed looks to hit a pile driver, but Scott powers out with a back body drop, starts crawling toward his corner, but Doom 2 stops him, tossing him to the ropes, where Scott leapfrogs and hits a belly-to-belly suplex.
It's a good belly... Dude, how do you feel about any suplex that's not a vertical suplex?
All suplexes are awesome.
all suplexes are equal in the eyes of the wrestling gods.
Yeah. We got 2 minutes remaining. Scott makes his way finally to the corner for the hot tag. Rick in, laying out Simmons, tosses him to the ropes to hit a power slam, hits a clothesline to send Doom 1 over the top rope, hits multiple Steiner lines on Reed. Simmons is back in to enjoy another Steiner line, but Reed recovers to hit Rick from behind. Doom goes for a double team clothesline, but Rick ducks, and Nitron grabs Steiner's boot as he hits the ropes. Rick starts chasing after Nitron on the outside, hitting a Steiner line, but Simmons comes off the apron with a double axe handle. A Pier 6 brawl breaks out on the outside of the ring, and we have 1 minute remaining.
Boo.
Scott is posted. Looks to be a double count out, but Rick rolls in at the last second, and the Steiners win by count out.
And it was a decent match with a slop-ass ending. Continue. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the
Just
Steiners,
double-checking.
So the Steiners receive 15 points for the victory.
Yeah.
Post-match, Scott returns the ring post shot to Reed before leaving. And then we get Gary Capetta. He announces the singles competitors in the Iron Man tournament.
Yes.
And since the curtain that covered the entire stage is gone,
there's
now
now
4 single curtains.
Yes.
And as he announces each person,
they lift up.
The curtain rolls up.
This place has a very high ceiling. It just keeps going.
But the competitors are
great. It looks kind of awesome though.
It does. Great Muta.
The Pearl of the Orient. The Great Muta.
Sting.
The man from Venice Beach, California. The Stinger. Surfer Sting.
Lex Luger.
The torture rack extraordinaire. If he has all the muscles that you don't.
And Ric Flair.
The baby arm bandit.
So we get our second match, and it is Sting versus Lex Luger.
And what do we get joined with in the most beautiful way?
Terry Funk joins JR as the color commentator for the singles competition.
And in this 15-minute mini tournament show that isn't necessarily too long, but it's not as exciting now as it would be then.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's one of the things we're watching it with
30 years.
Yeah. It's we kind of understand how this works a little bit better, but at least we get Terry Funk.
We get Terry Funk
talking about these matches. Yeah, that's very good.
So the two men are going for crowd reactions, and Luger is not pleased because Sting just keeps getting all of the cheers.
Yeah, Luger is getting booed hard, and he's definitely feeding into it amongst the crowd.
So Lex is going down the entryway, just whatever, I'm done with this. And Sting has to make his way through security guards and cameramen to get to him.
It's really funny.
Stinger starts attacking Luger, brings him back into the ring to continue with right hands and kicks. Sting goes for a crossbody. Lex moves, so Stinger goes flying over the top rope, but he hangs on.
Dude, that spot.
It's a good spot. But he lands on the apron. Luger goes for a clothesline, which Sting ducks and delivers a clothesline of his own. Sting then slingshots himself over the ropes for a splash, hits multiple clotheslines to send Lex to the floor. Luger grabs the Stinger's boot to trip him up and pull him to the outside, slamming his head on the apron, goes for the guardrail, but Sting blocks and reverses to send Lex into the guardrail. Sting follows with a clothesline, slams Luger's head into the apron and rolls him in, then comes off the top rope with a crossbody for a near fall.
Sting starting this shit off hot.
Mounted punches by Sting, but Lex looks to escape with an inverted atomic drop that the Stinger blocks, goes for a clothesline that Luger ducks, but Sting hits it on the second try. After an armbar by Sting, Lex escapes by Irish whipping him to the corner where the Stinger leaps up and off the second rope for another crossbody. Luger tries another Irish whip, charges in, but Sting gets his knees up, delivers a drop kick, and goes for another crossbody, but Lex catches him and hits an inverted atomic drop. Another running inverted atomic drop from Luger, a gut buster, tosses Sting to the ropes, delivers a big right hand to the gut, and begins to punt the Stinger to the floor.
Boo.
Lex continues the attack by slamming Sting into the guardrail, coming off the second rope with a double axe handle once they're back in the ring for a 2 count. Using bootlaces and ring ropes to rake the eyes of Sting, Luger is in control.
I love when they do the
bootlace.
Well, no, like when they drag their face across the ropes. It's always a fun spot.
It's always a fun spot.
It's like, oh, that can't feel too good. Also, like throughout the show, the commentary team is putting over like the champion of the 90s kind of thing. Like, who will be the champion of the 90s?
Because Flair's been the champion of the 80s.
He totally is and will forever be that.
And we have 3 minutes remaining in this match. Both men begin to throw punches. Lex with a power slam goes for the torture rack, but Sting floats over.
Hell yeah, he didn't work that back enough.
Luger with axe handles across the back punches, kicks, but the Stinger starts no-selling and firing back.
Sting Hogan, he does the no-sell.
Yeah, Hogan does the no-sell, but he's hulking up.
Yeah,
Sting
hulking
Sting
up.
just no-sells.
Yeah, it's kind of more of like the way that the Road Warriors do it, except for he does it like after he's already been beat up.
Yeah.
Whereas the Road Warriors kind of consistently do it all the time.
Exactly. 2 minutes remaining. Sting with forearms across the chest, chokes, a vertical suplex for a 2 count, and Lex rolls to the floor. 1 minute remaining. Luger's head slammed into the guardrail and the apron. Both men are on the apron, and both men topple over the top rope back into the ring, with Lex on top for the pin, as he has a hand and a foot on the ropes for leverage and the win.
I hate this finish.
The topple over the ropes looks
ass
horrible.
Also, I'm pretty sure that where they do like the third count, Sting is legitimately like in the air.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm maybe it's a later finish because there's a lot of weird finishes on this show, but I feel like he's legitimately like in the air whenever they do the third call, the third count.
So Luger now has 20 points for a pinfall victory.
I do love Luger boos, and I do love his crowd interactions.
So our third match, Doom of Ron Simmons and Butch Reed with Woman and Nitron versus the Road Warriors of Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering.
The most invisible man in wrestling, Paul Ellering.
Match starts basically standing drop kick by Animal on Reed. Hawk comes off the top rope with an axe handle to the arm of Doom 2. Hawk running the ropes goes for multiple shoulder tackles that Reed no-sells before ducking a clothesline, coming back off the ropes to deliver one of his own. Now Simmons and Hawk are both trying for shoulder tackles multiple times until Hawk catches Doom 1 with a power slam. We get a flying shoulder tackle by Hawk, Animal with a back elbow, until Simmons hits a back elbow and Reed Irish whips Animal, but he reverses and delivers an elbow to the head. Hawk with a standing drop kick, Irish whips Doom 2 to the corner, charges in, but Reed moves and Hawk goes flying shoulder first into the post.
Posted.
Reed with a catapult to Hawk that chokes him on the bottom rope. Simmons with a power slam on Hawk for a near fall, but has Hawk in a headlock with leverage on the ropes. A double team back elbows by Doom, a body slam. Second rope elbow drop. Flying clothesline by Reed for a 2 count.
Those flying clotheslines.
And we got 5 minutes remaining. Hawk with a shoulder tackle, falling fist, but Reed picks him up for a body slam, but Hawk is able to reverse and land on top of Doom 2. And Hawk makes his way to the corner for the
hot tag.
Animal flying shoulder block, a power slam. Simmons breaks up the count, and a brawl breaks out until the ref can get Hawk and Simmons out of the ring. Reed is going for a pile driver on Animal when Hawk climbs to the top rope and comes off with a flying clothesline. Animal makes the cover for the pin and the win.
And this looks really good on camera, where he's like set up for the like pile driver,
like right in the middle of the ring.
He's like
camera's right
he's
there.
Like got his arms hooked onto the guy for the pile driver, and he's like flies over them, and it looks really, really good.
So the Road Warriors have 20 points for a pinfall victory. And we're off to our fourth match. Great Muta with Gary Hart versus Ric Flair with Ole and Arn Anderson.
Double A, back in the cut. No longer a brain buster.
No longer a brain buster. Back to being
a fourth horseman.
4 horseman.
Yeah. The Gary Hart or Paul Ellering.
I mean, Gary Hart at least talks.
Sure. I mean, like, that's how I kind of feel about them. It's like, yeah, sure.
So Santa Norman is at ringside giving stuff away to the crowd.
And we saw Norman pretty recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw him at the last Clash doing the same thing, basically.
Yeah.
He's just like, kind of there.
Yeah, it's like probably a joke on their television show or something.
I assume so.
Yeah. I want to, before we
get into the match.
Before we get into this show, deeply into the show, Ric Flair, I think this is the best Ric Flair gear.
You think so?
Yes. How do you feel about it? I will explain what
Didn't
it is.
Didn't he have the pink tights this show?
He has.
I was always a green tights guy.
Oh, yeah.
I like green tights.
He's got the, like, it's kind of like it might be more bright pink, but because of the cameras at the time, it kind of is like more peachy pink. But it's like pink and purple. And I guess he wears a robe earlier, but he never really wears it to the ring. But I really like this look on his gross tan body and his like blown out like halogen light hair. I think it's very fun.
Match starts. Muta's running the ropes. Flair goes for a hip toss, but Muta blocks and punches Nature Boy. Muta with kicks, rabbit mounted punches, handspring back elbow, an elbow drop.
Muta's like seriously everything he's doing is like so intense. It's all done with like such fervor. Like every single, this is 30 seconds into this match, and it looks like he's gonna punch through people.
Flair starts firing back with chops, hits an inverted atomic drop, a shin breaker, locks on the figure 4.
This early into the match?
This early in the match.
He didn't even.
And the commentators are.
It was only one shin breaker.
And the commentators are even saying that, like Flair. Usually, his matches usually go a while.
So he has a disadvantage.
He's at a disadvantage because there's only a 15-minute time limit, and they were wondering, will he be able to get his offense in? Quickly,
especially against the Great Muta. Like the Great Muta is the most explosive person in wrestling in the U.S. at the moment.
Exactly.
Like hands down. Like in WWF, in WCW-NWA, all of America, there is probably nobody as explosive in that country as the Great Muta here, and he's already getting a figure 4.
So while he's in the figure 4, Buzz Sawyer and the Dragon Master come running down to the ring, but the Andersons stop them before they're able to do any damage.
And why do I care about this?
Flair lets the hold go. He grabs Gary Hart, who's up on the apron, which allows Muta to kick him from behind. Muta hits a backbreaker, heads to the top rope, and comes off with a moonsault, but Flair gets his knees up.
I knew he got his knees up before he got his knees up.
Flair then with an inside cradle for the pin and the win.
And I am pretty annoyed at this point.
So Nature Boy now has 20 points for this pinfall victory.
I mean, I knew he wasn't going to win, but, like, give Muta something. This is his first loss.
It was his first loss in WCW.
Yeah.
And it was less than 2 minutes.
And it's fucking bullshit.
I know it's...
Don't build somebody up to job them out.
I know it's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
But how is this
You know what?
He was also the television champion at the time.
You know what? It could have been so much better is if that Ric Flair, worked him over, maybe worked over his back or whatever. So and then Muta still got the pin, but then he loses to Luger in a torture rack and Sting in a Scorpion Deathlock. But it's like, well, at least he got his win over there, and he doesn't look like a chump, and he got his 20 points, but he loses his 2 other impressive guys.
I would have preferred almost a time limit draw here.
Yeah, anything really. But I think that if Ric Flair would have done the job, or would have made Muta look really, really great, and Ric Flair could still potentially win the whole thing, and Sting and Luger could put over Muta twice.
Well, here's the thing. Muta's not going to be around very much longer.
Know.
He's about to head back to Japan.
I know.
This is the reason why they job him out.
I know. But we got really excited for a little bit because we got this late 89 Muta jam.
I know. When I was like, oh, Muta Flair, I'm like, this is going to be great. And it's just like...
that's the thing, man.
Nope.
It's not always great.
We got.
No. It's fine.
Well, let's see if this 5th match is any better. So we have the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott Steiner versus the Road Warriors.
And these guys are friends at the time.
Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering. They are
buds.
friends. They all shake hands or high five before the match begins. And this is actually the first time these 2 teams have ever faced each other.
Yeah.
The next time that they would face each other would be the mid-90s.
That's crazy. Before this, right when this match starts, JR does the irresistible force versus the immovable object thing, and then Jim Cornette says probably the best thing of this whole show: the insensible force meeting the illiterate object.
Yes.
And it might be. It's like Jim Cornette is kind of the star of the show. You can cut that and paste it later, but I kind of feel that way.
So you're saying we already know one of yours. Match starts. Scott keeps trying to take Hawk down with a single leg takedown, but instead Hawk hits an enziguri. Scott reverses an Irish whip, but Hawk catches the boot as he goes for a kick. But Steiner does a twisting flip to roll Hawk over into an ankle lock for a moment. It was weird looking, but cool at the same time.
Yeah, it didn't look like a botch. It was just it was just different.
Yeah.
It didn't look like a mistake.
Yeah. It didn't look like that at all. We get a big clothesline from Hawk on Rick that sends him flying. Double back elbows from the Road Warriors, and Animal tosses Rick to the ropes. But Rick ducks a clothesline and returns with one of his own. Animal with a flying shoulder block goes for a bear hug, but Steiner reverses it into a belly-to-belly suplex.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck your bear hug.
Goes for the pin, but Hawk breaks it up. We get a military press slam by Hawk on Scott and goes for a pin, but Rick breaks it up. So each team's breaking up these pins.
Hell yeah. Scott Steiner really takes the brunt of some shit tonight.
Oh yeah, he sells like a madman in these matches. Hawk with a big boot to the face of Scott, body slam by Animal, tries for a jumping elbow drop, but Steiner moves and delivers a belly-to-belly suplex. Scott then tosses Animal to the corner and charges in, but Animal charges out with a clothesline. Hawk with a Canadian backbreaker drop, which is that move that he's been using where he lifts them up on their shoulder and then drops their shoulder first onto the knee.
Oh yeah. It's really nasty looking.
A gut wrench suplex. Scott fires back with a shot to the gut and takes Hawk to the top rope to deliver a super German suplex. But it kind of looked like Hawk forgot how to help.
Yeah.
And so he landed on his head.
Yeah, it was
a dirty...
It was slop. It was very nasty.
Animal's in with a bear hug on Scott. Steiner escapes with a pair of knee lifts, tosses the Road Warrior to the ropes, but ducks his head, allowing Animal to hit a knee lift of his own, and again Rick breaks up the pin. Hawk with a power slam, but Rick breaks up the pin, and now a brawl breaks out until Animal picks up Scott for a suplex, while Hawk comes off the top rope with a flying clothesline for the Doomsday Device.
The Doomsday Device, potentially best name for a tag finisher?
It's up there.
probably the best name right tag finisher.
I think so. I like it better than the demolition decapitation.
Oh yeah, totally. Doomsday Device is way more clean sounding.
The ref starts making the count. 1, 2. Scott gets his shoulders up. 3. Steiner brothers are the winners. And now have 35 points. It's that weird finish where they do the bridging suplex and both men's shoulders are on the mat, and then the guy who's on top gets his shoulder up, so they get the win.
Yeah,
it's a messy finish that we never like.
It's sloppy, and it's one of those things like people can pull that off now, but we've got the technology and the cameras, and those guys are going to like practice it.
Yeah,
and like get a fucking, a bonus for pulling it off. It's like this is not like, and the thing is even the best guys on the planet, like Okada's not even going to have that finish. Like this is like,
you're not going to do this finish.
No.
Like the only reason to do this finish is to kind of protect both teams, but at the same time, like, if that's the case, then just do somebody else. Do a count out,
just don't protect them.
Or a time limit. Do a time limit draw. It protects both teams. Cornette's actually going on about how it's the first time that he has ever seen the Road Warriors be pinned.
Yeah.
And I went and did some research.
And it's kind of true.
And on traditional tag matches, this was only the 5th time they had been pinned since 1985. And that's basically when they joined the NWA.
That rules.
Like they had lost, but most of the losses were by count out disqualification.
Yeah,
it was only the 5th time
they were actually like pinned. They actually were bested.
Yeah, and like literally the other 4 times was them losing the belts.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got to lose this belt, you're gonna get it back, but we gotta pop the crowd
exactly
to bring them back in the next 6 months or whatever.
And then we get a shot of a young lady on like some kind of scoreboard, like putting numbers up.
You mean
Vanna White wannabe?
No, JR's baby.
Oh, I guess I don't know this.
Oh no, yeah. Jim Cornette said that he heard him. He asked if it was his daughter because he heard JR calling her baby earlier in the evening. JR easily closed up shop and did not respond.
It's a good line by Cornette.
Yeah.
And we're headed to our 6th match. We got the Great Muta with Gary Hart versus Sting. Before the match start, Muta spits his green mist high up into the air. Both are being...
I guess I missed that because I remember later in the show he's got the green mist on his like hand. I was like, when did he do that? But yeah, I guess I missed the spit shot.
Both men are being very cautious to begin, locking up in a test of strength, which Muta reverses into a full Nelson that Sting reverses into one of his own. After the ref forces the break up while they're in the corner, Muta throws a back elbow followed by a mule kick to the Stinger.
Yeah.
Kicks, punches, a headlock by Muta, but Sting escapes by tossing Muta to the ropes, leapfrogs, and delivers a monkey flip, a clothesline, and a snap suplex for a near fall. Atomic drop by Sting, kicks the back of Muta's leg, and attempts to lock on the Scorpion Deathlock, but Muta makes it to the ropes before any damage was inflicted.
Yeah, and there's a spot where, like, Muta, I think it's right after this, where Muta goes down to Gary Hart or whatever, and Gary Hart, like, rubs, like, Muta's belly. Like kind of like a deep massage. And I was like, oh, maybe that was a play to him, like, unlocking the mist or whatever. Because you know how sometimes he'll, like, touch his neck or whatever?
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe this match will be faster than I expected. But it wasn't. Maybe him and Gary Hart just, had it like that.
We get a back body drop, a snapmare, elbow drop, a modified butterfly lock by Muta. But Sting is finally able to roll over to escape. That modified butterfly lock was freaking cool.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the butterfly suplex. Is that, like, there's other names for it, right?
No, he had him, like, had his arms...
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
locked in this, like, lock...
I know what you mean.
It's weird to explain.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but there's also, like, kind of a, like, weird, like, Nelson arm lock, like, suplex thing. where you do kind of like to the side, like a belly to belly.
Yeah, the butterfly suplex.
Yeah. I know. I think I may have seen one or two of those. I feel like there's another.
Yeah, there's a couple of those in the show.
But I do love that move.
The Stinger's throwing right hand slams Muta's head into the turnbuckle. A press slam, a body slam, jumping elbow drop, and a reverse chin lock to wear Muta down. Muta is able to back Sting into the corner to deliver some shoulder blocks into the gut, some kicks, some chokes, hits a backbreaker, and heads to the top rope for the moonsault. But Sting moves, and Muta
lands on his feet this time.
Hits a spinning heel kick, and Muta heads back to the top rope.
I love the continuity of like, oh, he got it in the gut last time he did his moonsault, so this time he's going to land on his feet because he catches it.
Stinger's up, hits a drop kick, which crotches Muta on the top rope. Sting then climbs up on the ropes, hits a superplex for the pin and the win. And Sting now has 20 points on the night.
I know.
And Muta has jobbed to a inside cradle and a superplex.
What's really funny
Not even their finishers.
What's really funny is like Muta works his ass off the rest of his career. Sting works his ass off for a little while, but then he just carries a baseball bat around for a long time.
And hides up in the
rafters. And like, to each his own. I'm glad he got paid for doing that, but like but he was one of the greatest before that. And then like, Ric Flair, whatever, he's old, but Muta's out there in Japan still fucking like
he's still doing it in Japan.
Yeah, he's like he's still owning the game the whole fucking time as soon as he leaves here. Granted, we get a lot of great Sting after this.
We do.
We really do.
We haven't even hit peak Sting yet.
Yeah, we get another like 5 years of great Sting.
Yeah.
Until we get Sting doing nothing and being a character and collecting a check. And that's nothing against him. It's just what worked best because he was the guy at the time.
Yeah.
He was the guy that could be the WCW to the NWO. But like right now we're not dealing in storylines like that. We're dealing in wrestling. And that's kind of why.
So JR, Terry Funk, and Jim Cornette are all together. They're discussing what's happened so far in the show. They mentioned that Flair, Luger, and Sting are all tied with 20 points in the singles competition. Cornette predicts the Steiners are going to win, but thinks the Samoans still have a chance.
They have yet to fight.
And Funk goes with Luger as the winner in the singles competition. Be interesting to see how it goes.
Luger has yet to fight.
Luger's fought once.
Yeah.
Against Sting. So the 7th match of our night, the new Wild Samoans of Fatu and Samoan Savage with the Big Kahuna, Sir Oliver Humperdink.
What do they call him? Oh, I guess, yeah. They call him the Big Kahuna, Oliver Humperdink. But I was like, what an ugly man.
Versus Doom of Ron Simmons and Butch Reed with Woman and Nitron. Santa Norman's back out, delivering more candy to the kids. Just a fun little.
Doesn't Nitron kind of look like a thin Big Boss Man?
He does.
Yeah, I agree. It's like oh, like give him a couple inches, but he's got like that same like bad goatee.
So Fatu and Reed lock up for a while to start the match until Doom 2 hits a body slam. Reed goes for another slam, but Fatu floats over, picks Doom 2 up for a running power slam. The two men start trading headbutts until they fall into their own quarter, allowing their partners to tag in. Savage and Simmons trading right hands. Doom 1 hits a power slam, falling headbutt, but the Samoan is right back up, hitting a savate kick, and goes to the top rope for a splash. But Simmons moves. Doom 1 with a body slam, Reed with a knee lift. Savage tosses Doom 2 to the ropes, but ducks his head, allowing Butch to kick him, followed by a falling fist. Rabbit punches, a swinging neckbreaker for a near fall by Reed. Savage starts firing up with multiple elbows to the top of the head, but Doom 2 makes the blind tag, and Simmons is in to stop the momentum. Doom 1 tosses the Samoans to the ropes, but ducks his head, allowing Savage to hit a knee lift, but Simmons is still able to keep the Samoan from tagging. Reed comes off the second rope with an elbow drop, and we have 10 minutes remaining.
Only 10 minutes?
Yeah, that was the first 5 minutes of this match.
I will say, Fatu not moving quite as well as he did He still he still looks okay.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, maybe it's the people he's going against. He's not going against like the thinner, leaner Rock and Roll Express,
Midnight Express,
or Midnight or Dynamic dudes.
Yeah.
It's like he gained like 40 pounds in his ass. It's pretty impressive how fat that ass got.
Butch with a clothesline tosses Savage to the floor where Simmons slams his head against the guardrail before tossing him back in the ring. Reed tosses the Samoan to the ropes, but Savage comes back with a sunset flip for a 2 count. Butch attempts a bulldog on the Samoan, but is tossed off, but is again stopped from making a tag with double team maneuvers.
I love the bulldog, always looks great, but the toss off of the bulldog,
yes,
it's like, this is super. It makes a lot of sense visually.
Simmons hits a body slam, goes to the second rope for a flying shoulder block, but Savage moves, makes it to his corner for the
hot tag.
Fatu and throwing punches, flying headbutt on Reed, all 4 men brawling in the ring. Reed Irish whips Fatu, but their heads collide, causing Butch to fall to the mat and Fatu to the ropes.
What does that mean for us?
Big Kahuna then pushes Fatu off the ropes on top of Doom 2 for the pin and the win.
Bum, bum, bum. One of the better finishes?
I mean, we've seen this finish a couple shows ago. It was early. Terry Gordy came out and it was the Michael Hayes Lex Luger match.
Oh, okay.
We saw the same finish and it was done then.
Was that AWA?
No, it was like Great American Bash or something like that.
I think it works better. I think it works better in a tag match. I think this was kind of this being a tournament. I think this was kind of fun.
This was probably one of the better finishes.
This is more excusable for sure. Like, I can understand you talking shit, but like with what we're doing, it's like we're doing 4 tags and 4 singles. That is not very many guys for a 3-hour show. This is a 2-hour and 50-minute show.
It's a 2-hour and 50-minute show, and every single match is like there's literally only 2 matches that don't go like almost 15 minutes.
Yeah. I watched a 2-hour and 50-minute show last night with only 4 matches, and there was like 30 people on the show. Just saying.
We're headed off to our 8th match, and we got Lex Luger versus Ric Flair. Flair does the 4 horsemen hand signal, and the crowd cheers.
Can you hear this microphone?
Because we're doing the 4 horsemen. Because
we are 2 of
we're marks. We're marks for the 4 horsemen. Yeah.
I mean, if we added our weight and divided by 4, it's probably 4 adult humans.
Maybe, probably,
probably thin boys, but they're still adult boys.
We get a Luger sucks chant, and Lex reacts by going to the outside.
Yeah, I love this heel Luger where he really plays to the crowd.
I do too.
I think it's really good.
The 2 men start trading side headlocks and pin attempts back and forth. A chop fest by Flair, and Luger tries to escape to the outside, but Nature Boy just follows him out, continuing with the chops. Back in the ring, Flair reverses an Irish whip, hits a back body drop, some kicks, more chops, and starts working on the arm, which hurts enough that Lex is still able to taunt the crowd while he's in this arm lock.
Hey, Luger must pose.
Hammerlock by the Nature Boy, hitting multiple knees to the arm, and Luger finally escapes with a knee to the back. Lex tosses Flair to the ropes but ducks his head, allowing Natch to hit an elbow to the back of the head, followed by a double underhook suplex for a near fall. Here's that suplex you were talking about.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Nature Boy is tossed to the ropes, ducks a Luger clothesline, and turns and hits a massive chop to send Lex to the mat.
Fucking JR says this about Lex Luger. Chest wide as an interstate to heaven. And it's so good. It's like he's got a chest wide as interstate to heaven, and Ric Flair is just chopping it to pieces.
Flair just continues to wrench on the arm between every move to wear Luger down. Lex finally gains control after a thumb to the eye and raking the eyes on the ropes. What's
really funny is about this time, there's a small child in like the first or second row. It's just like yawning, and I'm like, "Come on, man, this is better than some of the other shit." But what does he know?
Flair is tossed to the ropes, floats over Luger, and attempts a schoolboy pin and multiple small packages for 2 counts. Back to the chops and the arm lock until Luger hits a rubber band slam, ramming Nature Boy's head into a turnbuckle. Lex with kicks in the corner, a clothesline, multiple falling forearms to the chest, and we have 5 minutes remaining.
No.
Bootlaces to the eyes, more forearms across the chest, and a press slam by Luger that sends Flair to the floor. Lex snaps Ric's neck on the ropes and chokes him with a boot. 4 minutes remain.
No.
Luger attempts a vertical suplex, but Flair blocks and reverses it into one of his own. 3 minutes. Lex tosses Nature Boy to the ropes, attempts a hit toss that is blocked, and reversed into a backslide pin attempt.
Oh, is that the real sloppy backslide?
Yes.
I'm sure we've seen a few sloppy backslide. That's hard to say.
Chops by Natch, right hands by Luger. We get the Flair flip, who lands on the apron, runs to the next turnbuckle, and goes for a crossbody.
I was so stoked. Such a good spot.
But Lex hits a clothesline
as he
comes off the ropes.
Not even a gut. Normally it's the gut shot.
It was a clothesline.
But he hit a fucking close. He's so tall he can do it.
2 minutes remaining.
Jesus Christ.
Nature Boy's on the apron, goes for a sunset flip for a 2 count. Luger stalking Flair with right hands. 1 minute remains.
Boo.
Nature Boy goes to the top rope, but Lex with the press slam to the mat goes for a jumping elbow drop, but Flair moves.
Yes.
30 seconds. Natch with a back suplex goes to lock on the figure 4, but the ref calls for the bell as the time limit is up.
So it's a good match. Sloppy execution because they just don't really let you in on the time thing because it's weird small tournament. It'd be different if it was like the third big feud of a like year-long feud.
I was okay with it. This is at the point where like because they're doing this point system, that they have to start doing certain finishes in the next few matches to make the points work for what they want to do, basically.
Was this... Man, it's hard to tell because these finishes are weird, but is this the one where they, like... This one's not where it's timed out, where it's like, oh, we're trying to hit the, 1-2, but the time's out.
No.
Okay.
He had the figure 4 arm on, and Luger just didn't give up before time ran out. So we're headed to our 9th match.
Already? That's crazy, sir.
The new Wild Samoans of Fatu and Samoan Savage with the big Kahuna, Sir Oliver Humperdink.
Do you miss Samu? I miss Samu.
Maybe a little bit.
Heads up, this match is kind of amazing.
Versus the Steiner brothers of Rick and Scott Steiner.
Matt no-sold me. He obviously doesn't feel the same way I do.
To be honest, I don't really remember what happened.
Understandably so. But I remember it because there's a very good comedy spot that I appreciated a lot. But I'm also the Rick guy.
That's true.
I remember my Rick stuff.
Scott picks up a young fan on the way to the ring and lets him sit in a chair at ringside with his championship belt.
Oh yeah,
and it looks like Scott did this, or Rick did the same thing, but they didn't show Rick picking.
It's so cute, those two little boys with the thing. But when they enter the ring, both teams on all fours.
Well, basically, both teams just keep mocking each other.
Yes.
Because the Wild Samoans are doing a ceremony for their match, and Rick
just keeps
walking over and
doing the arm lift while they're doing. Yeah, it's like they're doing a ceremony, and he's mocking and doing the ceremony with them, and it is very funny.
I do remember this now that I've read this line.
It's
very funny.
Very funny.
The match starts. Fatu with a body slam goes for a jumping elbow drop, but Rick moves and tosses the Samoan to the ropes and delivers a Steiner line. At this point, one of Fatu's braids falls out, so Rick picks it up and puts it.
It's so amazing.
So Rick wears the head,
he wears
the weird
and
so he stick it under the band.
Yeah, he holds it up in front of the camera and sticks it in, and he's and then after he puts it in, he does his whole square up wrestling stance.
Yeah,
and then it'll fall in front of his face, and he'll push it back, and it'll fall in front of his face, and he pushes it back. It's fucking funny. It's fucking stupid. It's so funny.
Fatu starts walking down the entryway, but the Savage and the Big Kahuna convince him to come back to the ring after dealing with some of Atlanta's finest.
He was really sad about that hair pull.
Did you see the fan start yelling?
That guy was lit.
And like the police officer that was standing right there had to like jump in between them to keep them.
I've been drunk in public, but I've never like yelled at talent. Holy shit.
A guy that's twice your size?
Yeah. No, thank you.
Not smart.
But yeah, he was talking mad shit. It was 89. Maybe he was one of the 8 yuppies in Atlanta.
Back in the ring, the Samoan tosses Ric to the ropes, who comes back with a hip toss attempt that is blocked, and then is laid out with a Fatu clothesline. Ric reverses an Irish whip, hits a Steiner line to send the Samoan to the outside.
And exactly, Matthew, what is a Steiner line?
It's a clothesline by one of the Steiners.
Fuck yes, thank you. Yeah.
The two Samoans switch places because the ref is dumb and can't tell them apart since they have the same hair and tights.
Ooh, they do. I think their tights are like one's on the left and one's on the right, like the blue.
I mean,
but they seriously
you can't really tell them apart.
Outside of the mustache, they have very similar body types. I agree with you completely.
10 minutes remain. Savage tosses to the ropes. Scott with a leapfrog turns to hit a Steiner line and goes for multiple pin attempts. The Samoan claims to the ref that Scott pulled his hair to start, so Scott starts asking the crowd, and they let the ref know the truth.
Where was Teddy Long here?
I know, right?
It would have been great for this.
Savage pushes Ric back into the Samoan corner so that Fatu can hold him when Savage fires away with a big right hand that Steiner ducks so that Fatu takes the brunt of the hit, knocking him to the floor. The two Samoans start arguing in the ring, and Ric is egging on the fighting. He's just like, yeah, hit him.
Yeah, just do it. Fuck it.
But the Samoans hug instead.
Aww, that was cute. I like that.
Scott tosses Savage to the ropes, attempts a drop kick, but the Samoan holds onto the ropes and tosses Steiner to the outside. Fatu crotches Scott on the guardrail before rolling him back into the ring. A headbutt by Savage, Fatu with a headbutt to the gut. Double headbutts by the Samoans on Scott.
Damn.
That's a lot of heads to butts.
How strong are their heads? Are they as strong as coconuts? Is that a thing that Jim Cornette might say?
I believe that might be something he would say. We get a double team clothesline, but Scott is tossed over the top rope to the floor by Savage. Shouldn't that be a DQ?
Top rope?
It was tossed
We're
over
in
the top
NWA?
rope. Yeah.
It's probably top rope. So, I mean, I think that's dumb. But they've been talking about it for a long time now.
We haven't brought it up in a few shows, so I thought I would.
Yeah.
Scott's up on the apron, fights back with a sunset flip, but the Samoan stays up and double thrusts down. The Samoan Savage then locks a bear hug on Scott. 5 minutes remain. Steiner's looking to escape, a Savage with a low blow, a double thrust kick by the Samoans, choking him and locks on the bear hug again.
No, not a bear hug.
Scott finally escapes, starts to run the ropes, but is hit with a power slam by Savage.
Not the power slam.
2 minutes remain. Scott goes for a backslide pin attempt, but the ref is distracted, so it only gets a 2 count.
Who was the ref distracted by?
I assume Fatu.
Obviously.
Frankensteiner by Scott.
Jesus.
But the Samoans keep him from making a tag.
Fuck yes.
Another sunset flip by Scott for a near fall. 1 minute remains. Savage with a body slam goes for a splash, but Scott moves. Fatu jumps in the ring, so the ref goes to get him back into the corner when Scott makes the tag. Ric's throwing right hands on both Samoans, flying Steiner line on both. Fatu charges at Scott, who back body drops him over the top rope.
Woo!
Over the top rope.
Woo!
While Ric punches Savage through the ropes. The Big Kahuna's then yelling at the ref, and the ref calls for the bell.
Did the Big Kahuna remind the ref how to do his job?
The New Wild Samoans win by DQ because they were thrown over the top rope.
I hate it. You hate it. Jim Cornette hates it.
We've had this rule for 6 years.
Yes.
And it's never been enforced.
Maybe it was enforced early on and we were just like, I don't get it. But they also wouldn't tell us either.
It was not enforced.
No. But they talk about it.
They talk about it.
It's fucking
and they
sucks.
tell us about it. And we go, that's a dumb rule.
It sucks.
Every time we mention it.
It sucks butt. It's not good.
And then they use it as a finish in this match.
To put the Samoans under. Samoans are good.
Because it gives them 10 points.
Yes.
And 30 points overall. I love the explanation that Cornette gives.
What does he give?
He says that he saw the disqualification out of the corner of his eye. But I'm like, one, the replay even shows that the ref is not looking at it at all.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't react for at least a good 10 seconds after it happens. This finish sucked balls.
It stinks on ice. But there's a thing to take away from this match where Scott Steiner gets crotched and Jim Cornette says this beautiful sentence: "I hope he has no firm plans for the evening." And it was obviously a dick joke, and it was fucking hilarious. And I love him for a lot of reasons, but holy shit, that was very good. He said, "I hope he has no firm plans for the..." And he didn't sell it like I did. He just sold it like Jim Cornette would, and it was very, very good.
Our 10th match of the night, Great Muta with Gary Hart versus Lex Luger.
Please tell me that Lex Luger does not win this match.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Lex is limping to the ring after being hurt by the figure 4 by Flair.
It's good. It's a good sell.
I liked it.
I love this.
I liked it a lot. Back and forth to start off until Luger tosses Muta to the ropes, leapfrogs him, but when he lands, his leg buckles and Lex falls to the mat.
I love Lex sells this match very beautifully.
Muta starts going after the leg like a man possessed.
Oh, the only thing that Muta can do is be possessed.
Luger rolls to the outside to escape, but Muta follows to continue the attack. Muta jumps on a leg while is draped across the bottom rope multiple times. Lex escapes, goes for a vertical suplex, but the leg gives once again. The ref keeps asking if Luger wants to stop the match.
Yeah.
Lex is draped across the corner ropes, and Muta is kicking away on him. Muta with the Irish whip, and you see Luger stumble his way across the ring, and Muta charges in with a handspring back elbow. Muta's wrenching on the ankle, but Lex escapes with an eye rake, hits multiple elbow drops for a 2 count. Muta takes Luger right back to the mat with kicks to the bad leg, rolls Lex over into a half crab, and then switches into the Muta lock.
That Muta lock is nasty.
Luger makes it to the ropes, or he finally just reached up because he's like next to the ropes the entire time.
Yeah, they were all right there.
5 minutes remaining. There's more work on the leg by Muta. Luger starts firing back with right hands, a spinning heel kick by Muta to knock him back down. 3 minutes remain. Muta tosses Lex to the ropes, delivers a drop kick that drops Luger, but Lex is back up with a desperation clothesline. Luger's fighting back again with kicks, right hands. Muta starts trading blows until Lex Irish whips Muta to the corner and delivers a back body drop. 2 minutes remain. Luger with a hip toss, tosses Muta to the floor. Muta's back up on the apron, gives a shoulder block, and goes for a sunset flip. But Lex grabs hold of the ropes to stay up. But the ref kicks his arms off, and Muta's able to complete the move for the near fall.
What was the ref kick? Because you're
not supposed to hold on to the ropes.
Yeah, but he was like, "We can't break this, so I have to use my feet because you're..."
He just kicks him.
Yeah,
it's dramatic.
I've seen it before. I was just kind of one of those things. It's been you don't see this around this time very often.
Luger hits a power slam, and we have 1 minute remaining. Lex calls for the torture rack, tries to lift him, but can't do it with the bad leg.
Fuck no.
He turns towards Muta, who all of a sudden sprays the green mist in his face. The ref calls for the bell, and Lex Luger wins by DQ, giving him 10 points for the victory and 35 for the tournament.
At least Muta kind of left with some fuck you attitude, where he's like, "Yo, I don't need your fucking bullshit."
What's the point of this match going almost 15 minutes if you're literally going to have him turn around and then just all of a sudden be like, "I don't need this," and spray the green mist?
I mean, you don't know if their relationship is truly going to end at this point in time or not. But you know he's about to go back to Japan, so at least you have an open end for a good pay-per-view headline match if Lex ends up being the guy in the future. So like, it is kind of intelligently open-ended But in hindsight, like, Muta never comes back like that.
Or is it they were victims to their own scoring system and they needed Luger not to be at 40 points?
Well, yeah, it's obviously they don't want to give the Jap any points because he's going back home.
That's part of it.
And Luger is the heel. He's the one heel in the whole show. In this, it's like
Muta's a heel.
Muta's a heel, but people like Muta.
He's still a heel, though.
He's still a heel, but he's not a heel like Lex is a heel. He was a face. We watched that show, and there was people with like Muta signs, like the second pay-per-view. It was fucking great.
Because Muta's just fucking cool.
Muta, like, exactly. And that's...
Let's head off to our 11th match.
We're going to get deeper wrestling. We're like,
The new Wild Samoans of Fatu and Samoan Savage with Big Kahuna Sir Oliver Humperdink versus the Road Warriors of Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering. And basically, they kind of run down the scenarios of what will happen with each finish. But basically, if either team gets a pinfall or submission, they will win the tournament in this match.
Yeah.
So Fatu starts off strong with Animal, giving thrust chops, right hands, hits a pile driver, but Animal no-sells.
I know, dude.
And hits a clothesline.
Fuck. You can't no-sell a pile driver, can you?
I feel like that's one of the moves that you probably shouldn't no-sell.
I agree completely. It's like, I was like, nah, dog, you can't be doing that.
Savage is upset that the crowd has started an LOD chant, and Hawk just grabs him from behind, pulling him down to the mat. The two men start trading blows until Hawk hits a back body drop on Savage. The Samoan hits an inverted atomic drop, back suplex, a headbutt, but Hawk starts staring Savage down, tossing him to the rope, and hits a drop kick. Cornette and JR are talking about how the Steiners don't control their own destiny. And I was like, in my head, I went, technically, they could come down to the ring, get the Samoans DQ'd.
Yeah, they could.
And they would win the tournament.
Yeah, but they're friends.
But they're good guys and they're friends.
And they're also dummies.
So that won't happen.
And also, like, you know, Scott Steiner has a bunch of shonies to run later in his life, so he needs to do at least simple math.
Math was never Scott Steiner's forte.
What does Rick Steiner do these days? Rick Steiner is kind of my heartthrob. I love him so much.
Animal with a power slam, running the ropes, leapfrogs Fatu, an elbow to the head. Fatu with an Irish whip hits a headbutt to the midsection.
Oh yeah, the quote unquote midsection. It's supposed to be like the junk, the breadbasket.
Savage with a thrust kick chokes, a back rake, snapmare, and a reverse chinlock to wear down Animal.
Is Hulk Hogan here? I heard you say back rake. I heard you say bitch ass shit.
The Samoan with the body slam goes for a corner slingshot splash, but Animal moves and makes it to the corner for the hot tag. Hawk in with chops, a flying clothesline, all four men brawling, and Savage hits a thrust kick to send Hawk to the floor. Fatu climbs to the top rope, but Animal with a shot, and Fatu crotches himself on the turnbuckle.
Boo.
Animal ducks a clothesline by Savage, misses a clothesline, but Hawk then comes off the top rope with a flying clothesline on the Samoan for the pin and the win.
Dude, the Road Warriors flying shoulder blocks and flying clotheslines,
they're great.
They look amazing.
But the finish was a little messy. I think someone got into the wrong spot. That's why this whole, missing a clothesline, ducking clothesline, that kind of thing happened.
It's not as good as the one where, Scott Steiner took the clothesline from the Road Warriors earlier in the night.
Yeah.
That looked amazing. And this was, I feel like, kind of, supposed to be the, inverted version of that in a weird way. We're going to do a version of that finish again, so the Road Warriors kind of get it as well.
So the Road Warriors get 20 points for the victory, and the winners of the Iron Team tournament with 40 points.
And my boy and his brother come down to celebrate.
That's right. The Steiners do come down to the ring to celebrate the Warriors' win with hugs and handshakes.
They really do. It's good.
And then we're off to our 12th match, the main event. Sting versus Ric Flair.
And this tournament is just for...
bragging rights.
Bragging rights for,
They never say what the winner
for, contender rights. They don't really say.
Because, like I said, the Road Warriors and the Steiners never face each other again for 5 years. So It was literally just for bragging rights, basically.
And here we are with Sting and Ric Flair, and Sting hasn't had the big title. Rick has it, but like if Sting beats him, he doesn't get the title. So is this just a way for Sting to not get the title, or a way for him to?
Literally, this tournament, it was just a way of having these.
It's kind of like the Wrestling Classic was really fun, and I liked it, but I feel like this is kind of a little too late for this kind of show.
So there's actually a little bit of a story.
Hell yeah. Behind
Sting and Flair. So after Halloween Havoc, when they teamed up against Muta and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
You remember Ole Anderson was their had the towel for them in that match. Flair, Ole, and a returning Arn Anderson reformed the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, so it's the
Four Horsemen. And they welcomed Sting into the fold.
Yeah.
So Sting was a Four Horseman when this show happened. So basically you had two Four Horsemen facing off against each other in this match.
Kind of crazy, but it's like, well, it's Sting. He just kind of happened to be a Four Horseman at this point.
So once again, they discuss what could happen with the different results of the match, but basically it boils down to if either win by pin or submission, they win the tournament.
Yeah.
And the two men shake hands before the match starts, and we see Sting running the ropes, and Flair tries for a hip toss, but the Stinger blocks and reverses into one of his own. We get a woo and a Stinger scream.
What does a Stinger scream sound like?
Side headlock into a hammerlock by Nature Boy. Sting takes Flair down with a step toe hold. Natch lifts the Stinger up on the top rope for a clean break.
I do love a good toe hold.
It is good.
A good toe hold is good. It looks nice.
Flair's running the ropes. Sting with multiple leapfrogs and hits a press slam. Flair seems to be getting a little upset as he shoves Sting, and the Stinger shoves him right back.
Hell yeah. And this is where JR says, first annual Future Shock, and I'm like, yo, you guys are not doing this again.
Let's hope not.
I don't think that they do, but I was like, please, God, no. I need my Starrcade to be a Starrcade.
Sting's running the ropes. Natch goes for a hip toss, but Stinger blocks and reverses into a backslide pin attempt. Flair nails Sting with chops, but Sting starts firing back with a hip toss, multiple drop kicks, and a clothesline for a near fall. Flair backs off like he is hurt to entice Sting in with a false sense of security, kicks him, and tosses him to the floor. Natch with chops runs Sting into the guardrail. A rubber band slam once the Stinger's back on the apron, and brings him back into the ring with a stalling vertical suplex for a 2 count.
I love a real slow suplex. We all do, right?
Of course.
The longer you're suspended in the air, the harder the impact, right?
With all the blood rushes to the head.
Yeah.
Flair goes for the running knee drop, chops, turns an ab stretch into a pin combo, and then a small package.
That was kind of crazy, right?
It was.
It was like that ab stretch was like, this makes no sense.
I was like, why is Ric Flair doing an ab stretch? And then all of a sudden he turned it into a pin, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. I think they even called it potentially an Oklahoma roll. I was like, oh, that's not right, but it's definitely a roll-up.
Another vertical suplex, multiple Irish whips to the turnbuckle, and Nature Boy has complete control. A double underhook suplex, and Flair tosses Sting to the turnbuckle again, but the Stinger comes flying out with a clothesline. Natch rolls out to the floor, and Sting follows out, who begins to no-sell Flair chops.
We get those Sting no-sells. Because he, like, kind of sells them, where he's like, yo, this hurts, but fuck you. Where he'll, like, take the hit, and like turn his head and be like, fuck, and then like lean back in.
On the apron, Nature Boy with an elbow to the head, but Sting jumps into the ring with a sunset flip, but Flair stays up and punches down. Nature Boy goes out to the apron and looks to suplex Sting to the outside, but it's reversed to bring Flair back into the ring. 4 minutes remain. More no-sold chops, mounted punches by Sting, a hip toss, a clothesline, Irish whip to the turnbuckle, followed by a Stinger splash.
Oh, shit.
Sting locks on the Scorpion Deathlock, but Flair makes it under the ropes right away.
He really does. It's like very frantic.
Nature Boy hits a shin breaker and locks on the figure 4, but Sting makes it to the ropes.
To the trade-off, the big trade-off.
3 minutes remain. Natch working on the leg, chops, a running knee drop, snapmare into a side headlock, that Sting reverses into a head scissors, but Flair reverses it into a jackknife pin attempt that the Stinger bridges out of and into a backslide pin attempt.
And it's kind of a lot.
But it's such a good spot.
Yeah, this match is kind of a lot, but it could have been more.
1 minute remain. Nature Boy goes for the shin breaker again, drapes the leg over the ropes, jumps on it. 30 seconds remains. Flair goes for the figure four, but Sting pulls him over into an inside cradle for the pin and the win.
And I was so excited. This whole show, this was the match that got me pumped.
It took 12 matches, but they finally got you.
Yeah, and I'd imagine you probably felt the same way.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
So Sting obviously wins the match and the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Post-match, the Andersons come down to the ring. And here's the thing about Four Horsemen. Usually, when they kick someone out of the Four Horsemen, it's a beat down in the ring. So when the Andersons come down, everyone's kind of like, oh, they're fixing to kick Sting out of the Four Horsemen.
They don't.
But Flair shakes his hand.
Yeah.
And the Andersons raise his hand.
And Arn raises his hand, and always behind him. But then they start... I think that the video that we watched is probably the VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
Because they start doing some, audio interview stuff while the credits roll.
So we then go to Gordon Solis on the stage with the Road Warriors. Hawk says Atlanta knows who the Iron Men are.
Yeah.
And then Gordon says he's waiting on Sting to show up on the stage so they can interview him. But the credits start playing. But then we can hear, kind of a little bit over the credits.
Well, you hear
both Sting and Flair do an interview. I couldn't understand what exactly they were saying because the music was playing so loud.
Before that went off, the Road Warriors, they're like, oh, we are the Iron Men, and we proved it, and we come out to that song, and that's why we come out to this song, blah, blah, blah. But I was really surprised that Sting didn't get the beatdown. I really assumed it.
I was too.
Yeah.
So, Michael Temple.
Yes.
Overall thoughts of Starrcade 1989.
It was better than... I would say...
Better than Halloween Havoc.
I would say better than Halloween Havoc, but kind of tied for least good 89 NWA show. It's one of those things, if you told me you preferred Halloween Havoc and I preferred Starrcade 89, I wouldn't argue that.
I probably wouldn't argue with it too much.
I think that I may have enjoyed this more. A lot of it probably because of the commentating table.
The main event.
Yeah. I think this was fine.
So, my thoughts the tournament was a neat idea. I get what they're going for.
It's just too...
But the finishes to the matches were either not good
No.
or nonsensical.
Well, I mean, they're better than a lot of the stuff that we have seen in the NWA, but we're getting to the point where it's kind of more inexcusable.
I mean, I literally felt like Muta, Luger, Flair, and Sting, we were going to get some pretty good matches.
Yeah.
And the thing is actually most of the matches
I would say we got
14 to 15 minutes.
Well, I mean,
here's the thing.
They are good, but they have rushed finishes.
14 minutes.
Yeah.
14 of the 15-minute matches are good.
Yeah.
It's literally the finish of every match is just what? Let's just have a clean pinfall.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I get it. It was fine. The thing is I know it's a tournament. I've been watching this for a while. I can't imagine I'm going to be completely surprised. I thought Ric Flair would win, but the title wasn't on the line, so of course Sting won.
Yeah,
wouldn't have been mad if Lex won. Knew Muta wasn't going to win.
Once I knew the belt wasn't on the line, I feared they were going to probably put either Sting or Luger over.
Well, Luger already has a belt, so that's when I assumed Sting.
It's possible, but it's always kind of been in kayfabe that the U.S. champ is technically should be the number one contender for the world championship.
Yeah.
And so they could have used that as just to build on Luger's heel persona as well.
Yeah, but they could also,
because the last time, because remember the last time Flair and Luger fought, Luger was the face and Flair was the heel.
Yeah.
So they could have worked something where now
Luger as a heel has been very, very good.
Luger as the heel is very fun.
Yeah.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right. Fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up.
All right.
So what are some of your best moments of this night?
Muta came in hot and fast. I loved all the Muta moments that I did get. Sting is consistently very good, but my favorite shit from the show is
Rick Steiner and the Samoans.
Well, I love Rick Steiner as well. But I think that the thing that kept this like pretty solid show overall more entertaining for me is the swap between the Jim Cornette and
the commentating
and the Terry Funk, where it's like, oh, like I know all these guys can deliver, and they're not delivering the best matches they can have against each other, but they are delivering, you know, their weird tag matches and their weird singles matches they have to do for this show.
I literally, the moments, I think I basically already said, like, I liked the matches.
I did too.
Like, most of the matches.
Yeah.
The finishes were just
yeah
trash. And, I mean, that's my best moment and my most disappointing moment is that, like, literally, how can I like 95%
of a match that ends like shit, but
it just, like, freaking taints it completely.
Yeah.
With this nonsensical ending.
Yeah.
Because, like, that Muta Luger match, Luger selling
the
leg injury.
Luger sold like a motherfucker.
I think
amazing.
that would probably be my favorite moment.
I will agree with you. I will give the like.
I would almost give Luger best performer of the night just for that.
I'll go with you with that. I will double down. His selling of that leg was fantastic.
But the ending where, because with Muta just spraying the mist, like.
That was Muta just being like, hey, fuck you, whatever.
But it's not Muta. It was, they needed Luger to be at 35 points.
Yeah.
Because Stinger Flair needed to win to hit 40 points. It was a reasoning because of the point system.
I totally get it.
Totally dumb.
But the thing is, like, Muta wasn't going to stick around.
It's okay for Muta to lose.
Yeah.
If he's not going to stick around. I hate, like, he already lost to Flair in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, which was sucked.
So dumb.
It fucking sucked.
But at this point, he's now lost to Flair and he's lost to Sting.
Yeah.
Even with Luger having, selling the leg injury, like, do something different than like if you want to do the disqualification with the miss thing, do it just earlier in the match. Don't give me this great 14-minute match. And then with like 45 seconds left, he just goes, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. You have 45 seconds left.
You could have Luger come down with like and sell the leg or whatever, and then like come off of the fucking ropes and deliver like a devastating clothesline. Muta bounces up, fucking does the mist because he's like, oh, maybe he's not as hurt as I thought he was. And then he just like shoots the mist right after.
Basically just be like, I don't want to deal with this. Spray the mist, be done with the match.
He's like, I don't have time to. Yeah, it's like I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm not going to win. I'm mathematically eliminated. Let me make an enemy and go back home.
Exactly. So it's just it hurt me watching this show because I was just like I wanted to like it.
Take a step or two back and realize that like this is really important for like the crossover of Japanese and American wrestling, and this is a big part of Japanese wrestling fandom in the United States. Like the Muta WCW-NWA stuff is kind of the beginning of all of that.
Agreed.
It's like pre-tape trading.
Is there anything other than the finishes that's disappointing for you on this show?
I just kind of wanted a more traditional show. I knew that that's not what we were gonna get because we had talked about before going into the show. So I was kind of hoping that since like the last show or two of 89 were not as great as earlier 89 NWA shows, that I was really hoping we would end out on like
a high note,
a super high note. And I don't think this was a low note, but this was a kind of flat note.
It's a very flat note.
Yeah.
How we described a couple matches a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like none of these matches ended with periods. They were literally all ellipses.
Yeah. If the last 3 shows of 89 ended as strong as the majority of 89,
like the first,
it might be the best
6 months of 89, and then the Funk Flair, I Quit match.
Great.
All great stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is those highs are so good that 89 is still probably
incredible.
Incredible.
It's absolutely incredible.
It's on a sour note at the end.
Yeah.
But it's still incredible.
It's definitely incredible. I think we're kind of in the same boat. We're like, man, I wish for more, but I've seen less. And you're just like, damn.
Exactly. Anything surprising on this show?
Jim Cornette on the microphone and none of his tag teams in the ring.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising.
I know. Having a show with no Midnight Express is kind of interesting.
It's like and the thing is like, he was like, oh, Midnight Express would have came in because supposedly it was supposed to be the Skyscrapers instead of Doom, but it wasn't Skyscrapers, and he doesn't.
I think one of the more surprising things is that the Midnight Express aren't in this. They've kind of elevated these 4 kind of the beefy boy.
Well, yeah, I know it's all the big guys. Like it's like the Midnight Express would have looked.
They would look tiny compared to everyone.
The Midnight Express, the only people they could have contended against are potentially
maybe
the
Steiners.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, that is surprising.
But I was also very surprised by Terry Funk being a very good commentator.
He's done a good job.
Yeah,
in past shows.
Like he has, but I think this might have been his tightest. This was Jim Cornette at his funniest. Jim Ross is kind of like he's very clean, not clean as in like not dirty or whatever, but he's very tweener. It's like he's just calling it as it is. I guess there was no Dr. Death, so I didn't have to hear him talk about OU. But he's getting better for sure, and it was really nice to see him do that job as well. But what a weird show.
And now for a look back even further into the history of wrestling.
The Dusty Finish.
Pat O'Connor had held the NWA World Heavyweight Championship for over 2 years. But a new challenger by the name of Buddy Rogers would step forward in June of 1961. O'Connor and Rogers would face each other in front of 38,000 fans at Comiskey Park in Chicago, which would be a North American professional wrestling record for over 20 years. Billed as the match of the century, the 2 out of 3 falls match came down to the final fall. O'Connor would miss a dropkick, allowing Buddy Rogers to become the 7th NWA World Champion. Rogers, born in 1921 in New Jersey, was the son of German immigrants. He would grow up wrestling at his local YMCA, and his professional debut would come in 1939, and he would soon have a victory over Ed Strangler Lewis. His first title would come while working in Houston, winning the NWA Texas Heavyweight Championship 4 times in his tenure, once even from Lou Thez. Buddy Rogers would evolve his gimmick to use his flashy look, great physique, and bombastic personality to become the Nature Boy. For his many contributions to the world of wrestling, Rogers had been inducted into the NWA, Professional Wrestling, WWF, and Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fames over the years. Nature Boy Buddy Rogers would hold the belt for almost 2 years until a former champion challenged. The result would lead to the biggest fracture of all in the NWA. Next week, we got a special surprise. It's our Christmas present to you.
Yes. I think it was a Christmas present to
all of us.
To me and you. I'd like to think that our friends that joined us felt the same way. I had a good-ish time.
So we're going to cover No Holds Barred, the match, and the movie.
Yes, sir.
Michael just said we had a couple friends join us, and we're going to do a live commentary for the movie, but then me and Michael will cover the match afterwards.
Which, there's not a lot to that match.
There's not a whole lot to the match, but we're still going to cover it because it was a pay-per-view that WWF put out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we're we're doing it because
this is part of the reason we're here.
Part of the reason we're here.
And it also is a fun thing to do with our friends who also have a podcast. And yeah, it was enjoyable to do something a little different.
Exactly. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes. Also, I would say that you can probably listen to that without actually watching the movie.
Yeah, just us chattering away.
Because we're kind of bullshitting and making jokes, and like the movie, like I think Matt may have seen the movie when he was a kid, but it's really not that important. You can listen through it and probably still find some enjoyment without syncing it up to the film.
Exactly. But I do believe the movie may be on Amazon Prime.
I think it's on Amazon. Because I remember texting Matt, and I was like, I think it's on Amazon. And he was like, I just bought it. It was probably like $8.
It was worth it.
Yeah, totally.
So if you like the music from the show, the theme song from Starrcade 89.
Future Shock.
And Sting was our winner of our main event, so we get to play his theme music.
What is Sting?
Turbocharged.
How does that sound? Are you playing it now?
I'm playing it right now.
Okay, cool.
And if you did like this episode, you can always rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcast at. And you can always email us at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com. Let us know if you want to ask us a question.
Yeah.
We'll take some questions.
I will take a hard stance and say that we are the most consistent podcast that covers pay-per-views in order.
I don't know of any other one, so if there is one out there,
I've
that's
seen
not
ones.
covering.
I've seen
that's
ones.
not covering modern day stuff.
Yeah, we're doing it in like from like the modern day
Point of view.
pay-per-view in America.
Or you can always hit us up on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTOX. And we'll talk to you next week.